Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel Review Anything and Everything. And today we're going to be getting into a discussion, taking it back a bit, discussion in regards to the first premium dinosaur toys, or at least what I think was the first premium dinosaur toys. This actually goes back to 1988. A lot of people will probably recognize what's in front of them right now. For those who do not, because it doesn't have all the accessories, obviously it doesn't have the box or anything else that comes along with it, because this toy is probably older than half the people who are actually watching this channel. This is the T-Rex from the Dinoriders toy line, which was the company that made them was Tyco. Now, and I don't even know if Tyco still even exists anymore, but back in the days, Tycho's the one who created this. You could go online and find videos that say the history of Dinoriders and get into all that. That's not what we're gonna get into right now. But just from the perspective of just like the toys that were being made at the time and just the quality that was presented when they came out with these toys. So we reviewed on this channel a lot of dinosaur figures from Mattel. Pretty much is the line that makes all the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World dinosaurs, and they've evolved over even just the short time span that I've had them on this channel of their quality and whatnot, especially introducing the Hammond collection, which that in itself evolved very fast in terms of where it started with, it had a couple of smaller models to eventually got to the T-Rex, which at the time seemed super amazing to a lot of people. And then just in a short amount of time, probably in about a year's time, it was already considered, I don't want to use the word obsolete, but a lot of its features were considered dated to where they evolved the line, where they had better joints that were more stable, better glass eyes, just a whole bunch of little things that were better, where they placed the joints, everything like that, just everything was just better. And so you can see that line evolved very fast. But at a time frame before you had Dinoriders, which what's interesting is that some people bought the Dinoriders for the whole setup, which was at that time, for example, this T-Rex came with like a headpiece, like like almost armored with guns on it, headpiece with seats draping on the back as well, and all this other kind of stuff. I'm going to try to find a picture that I could put up in regards to the way the whole thing looked. But essentially, it was a theme that wasn't just about the dinosaurs. It was about these space people, these bad guys and these good guys who landed on this planet. It may have been Earth, but I'm not sure if it was an alternate place or if it was Earth. And they would use these mechanical devices to not only control the dinosaurs, but also to ride on the dinosaurs, which is why they call the Dinoriders and whatnot. But so for those who are interested in the toy line for that, that was definitely a different thing. For me, I was more interested in the toy line because at that time, you never really had premium dinosaurs. You had the soft rubber type dinosaurs, and you had some of the hard plastic ones. But the hard plastic ones, even then, they didn't look very detailed. They looked pretty cheap. It was the best you can get at the time, but nothing spectacular until Dinoriders came along. Dinoriders introduced the first glass eyes, which you could see there. And like I said, when you mind you that the Dinoriders series came out in 1988. So, if anything looks like it's, kind of not spectacular, keep in mind that at the time, this was like over the top. Now you can see the body shape of this, and you could tell the way its stance is similar to, well, not similar, is based off of how the T-Rex used to stand back in the days, the old museum style and the old way they used to assume that it stood, which was dragging its tail. And funny fact, that was only done because museums found it harder to support it any other way. So by default, they didn't know how a T-Rex would stand, but it was easier for them to display it by having it in that body stance. So that's just what they went with until later on, scientists discovered like, okay, well, that's not how it would be. It wouldn't drag its tail. But This figure, you could see here, the legs were massive. The nails were massive. Now this one had mechanism aspect of it where you were able to, it would move on its own. There used to be a switch here. It is gone. It just fell out on its own. Everything's rusted out, so this thing wouldn't even be able to turn on anymore, to the best of my knowledge. But it would move its legs. It would open its teeth. Open its mouth. They had the wheels here so it can walk, and a wheel on the tail, so that way it dragged the tail smoothly, and the legs would move forward and backwards as it rolls. So the wheels didn't have a motor in them. They were just there to make sure that when he walked, it was capable of walking. So it really was like he was skating, if you want to kind of call it that. But another fun fact is, because I noticed this right away, but a lot of people may not have known this right away when they grew up with seeing Toy Story for the first time. I knew right away, because this was my favorite toy way back when, that the T-Rex in Toy Story was modeled off of this T-Rex. So you could imagine how popular this was, because Toy Story was trying to say, for all those kids who had dinosaur toys growing up, the best and greatest dinosaur toy was this one. And Toy Story was trying to emphasize the idea of, hey, this is the toys that kids grew up with. You know what I mean? So I always thought that was fascinating. My thing right now has so much dust on it. I try to wipe it down, and even still, it's got some dust in certain places. But I'll never get rid of this. And I'll never forget when I first got it. To me, it was like super exciting as far as like the way that I got it and whatnot. It was a surprise for my birthday, and just, the whole way that it was done was just in a way where I didn't even know I was going to be getting it. So super awesome. But it definitely changed and revolutionized the quality level of dinosaur toys. And you could say toys in general, but definitely for dinosaur toys, it set a bar that I would honestly say wouldn't be met again until Jurassic Park came out in 1993. And so shortly after that, you had the toys that went along with it. And so I'm not too sure what part of 1993, because maybe the toys dropped going into 94, because I don't know if Jurassic Park came out near the end of the year. Okay, I just checked, and it was released on June 11th, 1993. So that would mean that the toys came out roughly around the same time. So within 93. So 5 years from the time that this toy dropped, you had that. And it's funny, because when I think back of it back then, it felt like it was a big long time before the time of Dinoriders to the time Jurassic Park came out. But when you're a little kid, time is definitely different, so it felt 5 years feels like a long time when you're a little kid. When you're an adult, 5 years goes by like a breeze. But yeah, so it wouldn't be for another 5 years that you started having toys that were on that level. Not toys, dinosaur toys that were on that level of being premium. Now, all of the Dino Rider toys had glass eyes, not just some of them. All of them had some kind of feature to them as well. Only the big ones had a mechanical feature, but the smaller ones would have a thing like wiggle the tail and it made the head move, or, press a button on their back and then like the legs would run. Deinonychus had that. I used to call him Deinonychus back then. But Deinonychus had that. Styracosaurus had that. What was the other one? Was it Protoceratops? The one with one horn, I forget his name right now. I used to know it so well. I think it's Protoceratops, I'm not too sure. Had that same feature. So there was a whole bunch of different ones, with their different features and whatnot. But they all, like I said, was just set the bar for being premium at that time. So I just wanted to revisit this. And this was just like the ultimate toy back then. I can't even express, because, nowadays, toys don't have the same weight that they had back then. They just don't, but nothing does. Nothing does these days. You know what I mean? That's just the way of the times now. That's even the way of like the media and everything. Like in the sense, like back then, not that this occurred with this, but like say if a movie came out, it was on For example, I'll take a good example of a movie, Batman, the 1989 Batman. When that came out, it was on all the, not only did it have its own commercials, it would integrate its advertisement into other commercials that had nothing to do with it. Like, you know, it'd be within almost all the fast food commercials. Like McDonald's would advertise, oh, blah, blah, you know, and don't forget to go see Batman now in theaters. And, you know, you'd have other commercials too that were integrating the movie into it. Like I said, some of the fast food places will have the toys. Just a whole bunch of stuff going on that would revolve around like the media of something dropping, along with the amount of Batman toys that came out. You wouldn't even believe the figures that came out at the time, different iterations, and it was just insane. I think that was the first advent of multiple versions of a figure in terms of like how that went, variants and this and that. But my point is that at that time, if a toy dropped, it was like a big deal. Whereas nowadays it's not, it doesn't hit the same. You know, there were a couple of drops back then. Like I remember the second version of Optimus Prime, huge, where he had like the trailer that was so big that he can be his robot form regular, or he can go into his trailer and like the trailer would become like a body and then he would drop into it. And now he had this giant body, like things like that, which are huge. And this came in that era. So this was, like I said, of the dinosaur toys, this was huge back then. You know, the whole line, not just this one specifically, but the whole line. But this was the king of the king. So yeah, just wanted to get into that, you guys, and whatnot. And you can see the rubber rotting on the wheels because how old this is. But yes, and then on the small wheel here, it is completely rotted off and the wheel itself is rotting. So yeah, the screws are completely rusted, which the battery would go in here. So you never had to take that apart anyway. You could see the dust and all that on it. It is just super old, but it's held up. It's held up. It's still intact. I'll never get rid of it, but yes. Let me know down below inside the comments, you guys, if you guys ever got into Dinoriders. Did you have any of them? What was that experience like for you guys? You know, were you really into dinosaurs? I'm assuming anyone who's going to be watching this video were really into dinosaurs. Or if not, drop a comment down below on any of the toys way back in the days that was like super big to you. You know what I mean? That was changed everything to you. Like this was the game changer for toys or whatever the case is at that time. So let me know down below, you guys, the comments down below. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video.